All right. For the record, like, what's your name?
My Lawrence August Job.
All right. Do you enjoy writing?
Eh, yeah, kind of, but there are things about writing that piss me the fuck off. Like, it's hard to find a publisher that isn't trying to reach into your pocket and take everything that they can out of you. Like, whenever you get into it and whenever you're trying to start, everyone is trying to just screw you over, you know?
Right.
I had this one publishing company reach out to me whenever I was trying to publish my first short story, and they offered me it was a 5-year deal that I had to put out at least 3 full-length novels a year, and I wouldn't see a cent of the income until maybe my 3rd year, if they sell enough. And the only benefit to it was that they're a pretty big publishing company. I say relatively big, but not like Scholastic size. 'Cause there are like millions of publishing companies, but for the area that I'm in, they're pretty big. So if I went with them, I know I could have sold more, but I'd rather do it by myself and, not have as big a reach, but have more control over what I put in it and everything. Because they were also going to heavily edit everything that I put out.
Right. And
that's just something that I don't want. I want all my writing to be me, you know?
Right. And in regards to your works, what have you published so far?
I have a short story on Amazon Kindle. I don't recommend people buy it. Looking back on it, it's actually kind of bad. I probably could have done better with it, but if there was an idea behind it that I feel like I put out the best that I could, but in the end, it's pretty much nothing but just incoherent schizo ramblings. But I feel like I was finding out how I'm going to filter that sort of ramble, that sort of incoherent stream of thought and ideas into like an actual story that other people can read and understand.
Right, I see.
I have another short story that's up only on my Patreon. I was going to put it on Amazon Kindle, but I can't actually find a artist that will. I don't want them to make the entire cover for me. I was trying to find somebody that can do like a simple and line art sketch of one of the characters from it. I'll put the cover together from that. But it's available only on my Patreon. And I have a bunch of chapters for the novel I'm actually working on right now on my Patreon as well. So.
Okay. In regards to your current work, what about it? What can we expect about it?
It is a novel. I don't think it's going to be a full-length novel, more like a light novel. It is about cults that form after a nuclear apocalypse. And it's sort of about, not really much about how the cult and everything functions. It's just about how the world and how people adapt to a very, very specific outlook of what a nuclear apocalypse could be like. And the way that it goes now, like I said, I have the chapters up on Patreon, but they aren't it's not going to be the final product. These chapters are just to get any story feedback in case some ideas just don't stick, or they're just not good enough, or there's some things that people want me to flesh out some more, some things that people don't want me to talk about, stuff like that. It's just to get that idea. After I get finished writing the entire thing, a lot of things are going to be changed about from the 5 chapters that are going to be up on Patreon.
Okay. Did you take inspiration from any Stephen King or any other post-apocalyptic type works? It's similar.
Stephen King? Fuck no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm not a big fan of Stephen King.
I
I'm
only
not
said
gonna
that
lie.
because the Stand. That's what came to my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Books like that.
The Stand isn't that bad. It's just Stephen King. I I don't know. I just can't get into his stories and everything. His stories, they don't make me see what I'm reading. Whenever you're reading, you have like that mental image of what's there.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
like
know
you're
what you mean.
watching. Yeah, you're watching a movie and you build it yourself. I don't get that with Stephen King. I suppose some inspiration could be mechanical for. Well, I say it's actually a lot because not really. Whenever I'm writing it, I don't think about it as much, but I suppose it was influenced by A Canticle for Leibowitz
Hmm.
by Miller, I believe. It's a good one. If you have free time to read that or listen to the audiobook or something, it's a really good one. Um, there's also the sequel, Canticle for Leibowitz, The Wild Horsewoman. I have not read that one. I've been meaning to read that one, but I haven't.
Hmm.
Really, the entirety of this novel I'm working on is from a line from a very certain song that I had misheard. And I'm not going to go any further into that until the novel is completed.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh,
What matters most in your writing?
uh, just putting shit out. Really, I just want to get things done and have it done the way I want it. A lot of the problem is that my ideas come with like fleeting motions. It's like trying to catch a wave. Once you get on it, you're good. You're surfing it, but once the wave is gone, you gotta go find another one. And sometimes those waves don't really match. I've never surfed before, by the way, just to put that out there, but it's a fleeting feeling whenever inspiration comes to me. It's hard to keep it up whenever I'm writing. I'll be writing the novel that I'm working on right now, and then I'll immediately want to jump to. I'll have an idea. Oh, this can go in the other thing that I was started working on. Like I have an entire external hard drive that's filled with maybe half a gig of story ideas that I had not finished. I picked up, touched, worked on, but haven't really finished.
So it's just like story concepts and like ideas
Yeah,
just
yeah.
pop up. Yeah, I got a few
Yeah,
of those. I got a few of those.
like folders full of like 4, 5, 10, 12 chapters, you know,
Mostly
and stuff,
concepts for me.
stuff that I'll go back, I'll look through the folder, read through the shit that I've read and like put down so far, and then I'll like throw the entire thing away and start over.
Mm.
And that's happening a couple times with the novel I'm working on this right now. But I think I got a solid storyboard put out. Got a good idea for what I'm going to do.
Okay. What matters? No, wait. I'm sorry. Is poetry an inherently feminine form of writing?
No, it is not. There's nothing wrong with writing poems. Poems is a great creative exercise, and that if you're struggling as a writer, you want to put something out, start writing poems.
Like there is simplistic, like easy way of getting into writing, like easily enough. Like I do
Oh yeah,
believe I can.
all you gotta do is put it down. I mean, shit, Amazon Kindle, you can publish a story that's 1,000 words. A lot of people prefer long. I'm not gonna say that. People want something that they can read and get moved by. If you feel like you have an idea that means a lot to you, it's going to mean a lot to somebody else, and somebody's going to pick it up. If you want to write, put down what you're doing, put that idea onto paper, and then put it up on digital. You can easily get things out with Amazon Kindle right now. It's no better time to become a writer than right now. All that people have to do is just do it.
Who really killed the Kennedys?
Now, I had this history teacher ninth grade, and he went off about how the CIA was connected to the Kennedys, and this actually inspired a story that I had never actually published. However, it does have a copyright made for it. I just thought that was an interesting thing to put down. I don't think I can publish it because I will probably die, but there's a copyright for it, and it is all inspired by my 9th grade history teacher's ramblings on who killed John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy.
I mean, this might trigger you some, but you know, King did a little story on that, on about someone going back in time and trying to stop the Kennedy assassination. It was
okay.
11/22/63.
It's not really. Yeah. I said I know I don't like King, but I've read a lot of his stuff. You can't say you don't like an author until you read some of his stuff. It's fair if you say you don't. If you pick up a book and put it down and say I don't like it, you can make that judgment by yourself. You cannot finish a book, but to me, I'm not going to say I don't like an author unless I read some of his stuff. I mean, that just feels a bit disingenuous as another author,
Right. That's understandable. Like, similar to how, like it's one thing to just dunk on, let's say, Twilight as a good example, and just say it's crap without exactly doing it. You're just without reading or watching it, you're just riding the bandwagon. But if you actually watched or read it, like, there's like a ton of like issues and plot points and like plot holes that don't make any sense. Like one of the biggest ones that I've actually pointed out to other people I know is that Vampire Sparkling isn't just dumb because like it's Vampire Sparkling, but why are vampires hiding? It's like the only threat to them are other vampires and werewolves in that universe. Humans can't really pose a threat to them. Sunlight doesn't hurt them at all. It doesn't kill them. We don't know if holy water works. We don't know
if they're just announcing that they're vampires or werewolves, they're like out in the open, other vampires are going to come up to them. Other vampires that don't reveal themselves are just going to come up and kill them, aren't they?
No, that's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is like, why are they hiding in the first place? That's why is the Volturi hiding? Like,
it could be something that it just built up over generations. More and more vampires want to just have a monopoly on like the food chain or the vampires themselves. They want to have their own little kingdom. So eventually, it just got easier just to have everyone just stay out of sight from the others. It's not the outsider or the ones that aren't like them that are the threat. It's the ones that are exactly like them that are the threat.
I think that's a bit of a stretch. I get what you mean, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's easier to keep your food population like under control rather than just hiding from them because they don't pose a threat to you. As opposed to something like Underworld or Vampire Masquerade or Castlevania, that makes sense. Sunlight hurts them, holy water hurts them. Hell, even Blade.
I'm gonna be real. I read the first Twilight book and none of the other ones, so I don't really have that great of an idea. And I didn't think the first Twilight book was actually that bad. It was written pretty well.
I do. Crimson Rogue did a good job breaking that book down, breaking the movie down, and also said like how it takes forever for a plot to actually like get going, and how Bella Swan's literally the most cookie cutter basic character and the least interesting aspect of that world, where there are other characters like her father, if he was the main character, and you can actually do a lot more stuff with that character as opposed to Bella, who's just a damsel in distress, so to speak.
Well, yeah, you gotta take it from one thing. A lot of the times, the main character is just a narrative lens. I'm not justifying having a boring character. You should never have a boring character. You should have characters that have struggles, they have hopes, they have desires. They have their temptations, their problems, their fears, all that. But there are some times that a good character is a character that just watches things happen, especially if they're not strong enough to change things. I mean, there's plenty of people in real life that life just happens around them,
Right. Like you can definitely make that real life story like the set in the real world, and it's just small time thing.
Yeah,
and you have your other stories that have like a character that affects the world, or vice versa.
They're watching the world change around them, and it's it's quite literally like you're sitting there reading a book. You're doing nothing to have an effect, and it's like you feel helpless sometimes whenever you're reading a book. You're like, if I was there, if I was in this character's shoes, you know. Sometimes some characters are supposed to make you think that, you know, what are you going to do whenever you're there? And it's romance for women. It's supposed to make them think, if I was there, what would I do? And you know, think about the world from that point of view. So I think Bella Swan being a more cookie cutter character, easy for somebody to put themselves into and use that as a narrative lens, I think that's a pretty good idea. There are definitely ways that could have been executed better, but I still think it was the right way to go for that kind of book.
I respectfully disagree. I get your point, but I disagree. Bella's just so poorly written and so an empty shell. Like, there's nothing about her that is like that stands out. Like, what can you say about, like, what's a good character example? Like Lieutenant Hawkeye for Fullmetal Alchemist. I can tell you more about that character than I can with Bella. I can tell Hawkeye's wants, her desires, her needs, her dedication, her loyalty. I can talk about all of that. With Bella, I'm struggling to find like what aspect about her is actually memorable. Like, remove her from the franchise she is. Like, what about her? Like, why does she
really? It's supposed to be about the person reading it that's memorable. You know, what did you take away from the story in that sort of situation? You know. Whenever you're talking about Fullmetal Alchemist, you're not talking about the main character themselves. You're talking about somebody else.
Right.
You know, it's hard to pin down exactly what the author was trying to go for with Twilight, and I forgot the author's name.
Stephanie Meyer. Like,
Stephanie
it
Meyer.
was meant to be this. It was like a teen fantasy. That's all it was. It was just a love story.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's a good idea to have it be a narrative lens. You know, quite literally a blank slate to put yourself into. A little mold to put everything that you think about into. You know.
Those are 50-50, honestly, though. But I mean, I guess it's a subjective thing to say, like, where a character that you can see yourself being, that's one thing, but those characters can be done well, though. Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. Peter Parker is the everyman. Like, that's a good example.
I don't think the everyman shoots come from his wrist, but...
That's not, like, what I mean is not Spider-Man himself, but Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He's struggling, he's up his nose
he's
in
a
debt.
college student, you know,
He
he
just
lives
graduated.
in a shitty apartment.
Crappy apartment he can't afford. Gets
His
crappy
girlfriend is a
food.
euphemism for marijuana, you know.
Yeah, like that. And you have Bella Swan, who's also meant to be like the sole template, but there's a way to make a character stand out while also being like you can identify with them. It's just I don't think Meyer did that well enough. That's just I'm just getting that out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. It's just something that. Hang on.
Nope.
Sorry, my allergies are killing me.
Oh, okay.
My throat feels like I'm being stabbed in the throat. It's killing me.
Dang.
Ah!
Well,
Take a sip real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. Twilight is just, I ruined that audio clip. Damn. Twilight is just something else, you know?
yeah, it is. Final question. What plans do you have for the future?
Really, I want to put this first novel or light novel out, and I want to have that published, and I know for a fact I'm going to keep trying to get my short story published. I just need to find a decent author that does like simple drawings. I don't want anything too crazy. I just want something that's, you know, sort of two-dimensional in more of just a drawing sense, but you know, something basic, something that shows it's a short story that's, you know, rustic. It's not made by a professional. It doesn't have all this, background stuff. It's not like a photo of a woman with her head slightly turned to the side. She's looking away, her head slightly turned towards the camera, though. I don't want any of that. I've seen plenty of that, and I don't want it. I want it to look. I want to support somebody that's like, smaller, and somebody that wants their art to, be placed up beside, hey, there's a decent story accompanied by a really good artist that is, that can turn a basic prompt, a simple 1-paragraph prompt, into like this detailed picture that you could feel emotion from. After that tangent, the short story, I want to get that published for Amazon Kindle. I want to get that out. That is something that is on like top priority. I'm still working on my novel. I'm pretty good where I'm at. I've still got a few things I gotta do before I can actually get into where the story's actually going. It'll be a while even after I finish it. I have to reorganize a lot of things for the story. The way I was testing it out, I was doing a little experiment on my Patreon, with the chapters that I released on my Patreon. It's not going to be like that when the full story comes out. There's going to be a different format for everything. It's going to have a different layout. It's going to actually flow like a story, not like a bunch of random ideas, I'm working with the team. Oh, there's a bottle in my throat. Damn, I am just making a mess. Anyways, I'm working with the team on making a visual novel that is... I'm not going to say anything about it yet. However, we're also looking for an artist and a musician for that visual novel. So, I'm going to send a link to a email address to Lone. Say if you want to, sort of see if you want to join the visual novel, the team working on all of that, help out with the project, and say, send us an email. Put in a little application sort of thing. Give us a little taste of what you can do, a little music, a little art or something. And we're definitely looking for some people to work with us. We're pretty open. The topic is something that some people may not be comfortable with in terms of the novel, but it's we're pretty open to working with people and discussing the topic and respectfully approaching it, and after that, I think I'm gonna go immediately into a novel about pirates. I have a decent idea of what I'm going to do about that.
Alright, I guess I got something to look forward to. And also in regards to the visual novel idea, I might consider it. Might, if the winds are right. And if that's all, then thanks, Crit, for being in his interview.
Yeah, as shitty as an interview was. I mean, no offense against you. I'm not a very good interview kind of guy. I just ramble on and everything. And we're talking to an author about books to an audience that is mostly for a gaming channel.
Yeah.
This is probably, you're gonna put this up on your channel and people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? Who is Lawrence Job and why do I care? Me, I'm Lawrence Job. Lawrence August Job. And I'm your father now.
Alright then.
Also, my Patreon, subscribe to my Patreon. $3 gets you a hell of a lot of short stories. I try and upload weekly. However, this week's upload has been, kind of pushed back due to personal things.
It happens.